Fox News. It has come to our attention.
But this time it seems the mosquitoes are worse than ever before.
For nearly 2 decades, one of the world's most notorious hacker groups has gone by the name Anonymous, and the enigmatic internet group is making news once more. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine at the end of February, a Twitter account called Anonymous, with 7.9 million followers, announced a cyber war against Russia and its president Vladimir Putin. Since then, the organisation has claimed responsibility for a number of hacks that have rendered websites inoperable and exposed data from Russian government institutions, as well as state-run news outlets and enterprises. Now, Anonymous has discovered an anomaly and informed Americans that something has been introduced into their environment. What has been released in the United States, and how will it affect our lives? Join us as we investigate what Anonymous just announced, which was secretly released in the United States. Anonymous generally opposes governments and corporations that it sees engaging in censorship or fostering inequality. Because the organisation is decentralised, there is no actual structure or leadership, and there is frequently internal discussion about which ideas or causes to support. Now, thanks to the secret organisation Anonymous, both residents of Florida and the rest of the United States were made aware of an undercover operation that began years ago. Unknown to everybody, this effort had already begun to alter the familiar and beloved American landscape. In recent years, the state of Florida has had a high rate of mosquito-borne infections. Yellow fever, dengue fever, chikungunya, and Zika are all versions of these diseases. These infections, which are predominantly carried by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, have caused numerous injuries and abnormalities in humans and our environment. Despite the fact that they move like a featherweight, they account for 4% of the mosquitoes in Florida Keys. Aedes aegypti are a serious health risk. Luckily, a biotech company has developed an intelligent technology in the form of a swarm of genetically modified mosquitoes that has been deployed to restrict the harm caused by these blood-sucking insects. A genetically modified mosquito looks like a normal mosquito but serves a distinct purpose. Consider these unique species as an alternative to pesticides, which are commonly employed in the United States to manage the large insect population that is disrupting the environment and causing the emergence of insecticide-resistant mosquitoes. Oxitec, the biotech firm behind this massive breakthrough, has had success with this project. Their established track record of testing genetically altered mosquitoes in multiple nations has been a major benefit to the world. Their team has effectively restricted the spread of diseases in Brazil, Panama, the Cayman Islands, and Malaysia by working around the clock to provide friendly mosquito solutions. In 2010, the Florida Keys Mosquito Control District contacted this British biotech firm about testing their technique in the area. Florida had and continues to have mosquito-borne disease problems. This step was recommended in 2009 when the state began seeing occurrences of locally transmitted dengue and a few years later, locally transmitted Zika. Mosquitoes have also developed resistance to chemical insecticides, necessitating the call to Oxitec to resolve the mosquito problem. The biotech firm used the innovative bioengineered pest control technology for the first time in the United States. The project involves the release of bioengineered male Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. They are mass-produced to include 2 types of genes: a self-limiting gene that prevents the female mosquito from maturing into an adult, and a fluorescent marker gene that glows under a particular red light. This luminescence enables researchers and scientists to spot bioengineered mosquitoes in the environment. When the modified mosquitoes enter maturity, they are released into the environment to encounter female mosquitoes that bite and transmit diseases. Because male Aedes aegypti mosquitoes do not bite, their primary role is to mate with the female mosquitoes and pass on their genes to their offspring. The genes impair the female offspring's ability to survive, killing the female in its early stages of birth. The male offspring, on the other hand, has a distinct purpose. The male offspring continues its father's labour by carrying the gene and passing it on to future generations. As the female Aedes aegypti mosquito dies with each birth, the mosquito population decreases. The purpose of this Florida experiment was to acquire more information and replicate their previous results, similar to the one done in Brazil by the British biotech company. When the experiment was carried out in Brazil, the biotech company observed a decrease in mosquito numbers. During a 13-week trial, they achieved a 95% drop of mosquitoes, proving that this decline was effective. The corporation intended to repeat this experiment in order to demonstrate to US regulators that the technology works. However, some residents of the Florida Keys were not convinced. Residents believe that the Oxitec experiment will harm them because of widespread anti-genetically modified organism attitude in the United States. The average American adult, for example, does not trust genetically engineered foods. So, to the residents of the Florida Keys, discussing a big genetic experiment seems like a poor idea. When several people were interviewed about the biotech's involvement, they expressed their displeasure, claiming that the corporation believes they are stupid enough to allow such trials to take place in their neighbourhoods. Locals are concerned that mosquito bites may worsen their health and disrupt the community's ecosystem. Dissatisfied that their neighbourhoods had been chosen as test sites, some residents threatened to impede the experiment's progress by spraying insecticides near the release points. The biotech corporation placed a box of mutated mosquitoes before they hatch and are released into the wild at the release points. According to the Oxitec employees, the people trying to disrupt the company's experiment are part of a minority that attempts to misrepresent scientific facts. Large anti-GMO organisations also fund these minorities. Gray Fransden, CEO of Oxitec, was perplexed by the hatred directed at his company. The biotech company has been slandered and called every name in the book, Gray says. The Florida Keys Environment Coalition was formed to effectively resist Oxitec's experiment. This organisation is a part of the local coalition against genetically modified mosquitoes, and they demonstrate why they exist. They position themselves as an all-volunteer organisation, claiming that their concerns are valid enough to prevent the experiment from taking place. They gathered over 200,000 signatures in a petition opposing the Oxitec project, which included a letter signed by numerous local doctors asking extra testing as a proof of their support in order to prevent the experiment from starting. As you can imagine, emotions run high, and there are people who feel strongly either for or against it, said molecular biologist Natalie Kofler, a Harvard Medical School lecturer and pioneer of editing nature, of the locals' reaction to the Oxitec experiment. She also mentioned, speaking from a local's perspective, how concerned she would have been if mosquitoes were put into a previously plagued neighbourhood. Kofler, who has been following the project for years, believes the residents' concerns are due to the uncertainties of new technologies. The biotech company has been alerting residents in the Florida Keys about each step of their trial, answering all of their questions. Even after describing the tiny possibilities that a female mosquito with a deadly gene has of reproducing, many are skeptical because it comes from a firm, according to Kofler. Despite all public debates and disagreements over the Oxitec project and the potential human health and environmental risks that the biotech business could cause, the Florida Keys Mosquito Control District approved the Oxitec experiment for August 2020. The approval includes a 2-year release of 750 million genetically engineered mosquitoes. The mosquitoes were released in Monroe County, Florida, and the trial began in late April 2021. To begin the experiment, researchers chose 6 spots in 3 different sections of the Florida Keys and placed boxes carrying Oxitec mosquito eggs in those locations. Starting in the first 2 weeks of May, male mosquitoes began emerging at a rate of about 12,000 per week for the next 12 weeks. According to the biotech company, a second phase was undertaken later in the year, and 20 million mosquitoes emerged during a 16-week period. Project B, the second phase, began on August 9th. Boxes from Project B were also placed in 6 locations: 2 on Vaca Key, 2 on Little Torch Key, 1 on Conch Key, and 1 on Ramrod Key. Because Project B lasted 4 weeks longer than Project A, the release sites produced over 150,000 male mosquitoes over the entire 16-week period. Gray, the CEO of Oxitec, has made comments on his company's efforts, suggesting that his biotech firm is nothing short of vital for humanity. According to the CEO, the biotech company's goal is to develop and deliver additional technologies that will allow human species to continue to exist on this planet. insect pests are currently one of the most serious risks to that. Every year, these mosquito-borne diseases kill about 1 million people worldwide. Furthermore, climate change expands the insect's range with the illnesses it carries to previously unfavourable places. These factors heighten the importance of creating technologies such as Oxitec gene editing innovation. The US Environmental Protection Agency extended the experimental use permit in March of this year, allowing the pilot project to continue. Following this national level approval, FDACS evaluated and approved Oxitec's state-level permit applications. The 2022 project, which began on May 9th, included the installations of Oxitec Just Add Water mosquito boxes are placed on the houses of volunteer residents in 3 VACA key release sites. Because there was such a strong demand for volunteers to participate in this phase of the study, a waitlist was formed. Gray Franson, the CEO of a biotech company, was pleased with the outcome of the events in Florida. He thanked the Florida Keys Mosquito Control District and all the communities who welcomed his company and officials to the Keys. Moving ahead, he told the community that his organisation will do more to develop effective, accessible, ecologically friendly solutions to manage the growing menace of invasive disease-carrying mosquitoes. This past September marked the beginning of the third and final phase of the 2022 mosquito project between the Florida Keys Mosquito Control District and Oxitec. This phase was outstanding, with an emphasis on the mark-release recapture of Oxitec's male mosquitoes. The experiment, dubbed Project E, examined the performance of the released Oxitec male mosquitoes, such as a lifespan and dispersal. The pest control method developed by Oxitec is 100% safe for beneficial insects such as bees and butterflies. Its goal of controlling infections carried by the Aedes aegypti mosquito in Florida has been met. The outcomes were outstanding. Mosquito populations in project regions usually decreased by more than 90%. Let us know what you think in the comments section below.